Picture this, it's 1979, disco is king, bell-bottoms are all the rage, and America decides it needs a Department of Education. Why? Good question. See, before 1979, education was mostly a local affair. States and towns called the shots. But President Jimmy Carter wanted a more unified approach. He believed everyone deserved a good education no matter where they lived. So the Department of Education was born. Its mission? To make sure all American kids had a shot at success. It set national standards, fought for equal access, and provided funding to schools in need. It wasn't always perfect, sure, but it aimed to level the playing field. For decades, the department played a key role in shaping American education. It helped millions of students access better opportunities. It championed the needs of disadvantaged communities, and it tried to ensure that a zip code didn't determine a child's future, but then, along came Trump. Now Donald Trump and the Department of Education, let's just say they weren't exactly best friends. Throughout his presidency, Trump made it clear he wasn't a fan of big government, and he really wasn't a fan of federal involvement in education. He believed states should have the power to run their own schools, free from Washington's meddling. Trump's education philosophy was all about choice and competition. He loved charter schools, he championed school vouchers, and he appointed Betsy DeVos as his Secretary of Education, a woman who made a career out of advocating for school privatization. Trump argued that the Department of Education was a bloated bureaucracy. He claimed it was wasting taxpayer money and pushing a liberal agenda on unsuspecting children. He wanted to shrink it, defund it, and ultimately make it disappear. And in 2025, he finally got his chance. Fast forward to 2025. Trump, back in the Oval Office after a 4-year hiatus, is a man on a mission. And that mission involves dismantling the Department of Education, brick by bureaucratic brick. He signs an executive order, setting in motion a plan to strip the department of its power and hand it over to the states. Trump's argument? He says he's returning power to the people. He claims that states are better equipped to address the unique needs of their students. He argues that a one-size-fits-all approach to education simply doesn't work. Of course, critics were quick to point out that this was the same argument used to justify some of America's darkest chapters of educational inequality. But Trump pressed on, determined to reshape the educational landscape in his image. The plan itself is as audacious as it is controversial. Federal funding for education? Gone. National education standards? History. Oversight of student loan programs? See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Trump envisions a future where states have complete autonomy over their education systems, for better or for worse. So, what does this all mean for America? Well, imagine a country where the quality of your education depends on where you live. States with ample resources and a commitment to public education might thrive. Think Massachusetts, Vermont, maybe even New Jersey on a good day. But what about states struggling to make ends meet? States where education funding is already stretched thin? Critics fear a dystopian future where educational inequality explodes. They envision a nation divided, not just by red states and blue states, but by smart states and struggling states. They worry that the achievement gap between rich and poor students will widen into a chasm. And they fear that generations of children, particularly those in marginalized communities, will be left behind. Of course, supporters of Trump's plan see a brighter future. They envision a renaissance of innovation and local control. They believe that states, freed from the shackles of federal bureaucracy, will be able to tailor education to the specific needs of their students. They paint a picture of dynamic, responsive education systems where parents have more choice and schools are held accountable to their communities. The tremors from Trump's education earthquake aren't just being felt in the US across the Atlantic. European leaders are watching with a mixture of curiosity and concern. Could Trump's radical move inspire similar decentralization movements in Europe? Could it upend decades of progress towards a more unified European education system? Some European countries, already grappling with regional disparities in education, are looking at Trump's experiment with a wary eye. They fear that dismantling national education systems could exacerbate existing inequalities and undermine social mobility. Others, however, see an opportunity to break free from what they perceive as a bureaucratic and inflexible European education model. The potential implications for international collaboration in education are also uncertain. Will a more fragmented U.S. education system make it harder for American students and researchers to compete on a global stage? Will it weaken ties between American and European universities? And will it diminish America's standing as a leader in education innovation?